off the elevator. Vicki Long is coming down to greet us. She said, "Hey, Miss Johnson." I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And that was it. She screamed, we shouted, we cried,
yes.
We didn't know what to do. We couldn't believe it. And my husband was sitting in the lobby reading a magazine. We're not getting this. We're not understanding what had happened. And she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh my God, I am walking." And that's when I kind of passed out. And they took me to the treatment room.
Okay.
And I want to tell you, God always has a purpose for everything that he does. Nothing is coincidence. Nothing is for no reason at all. And when I got to that hospital, my doctor was Dr. Stephen Dukovsky, an unsaved Russian doctor.
Yes.
And when he came in the treatment room, and I was sitting on the treatment table rather than lying on the treatment table,
yes.
he didn't know what to do with me. And when the nurse came in, you could hear her all over the...
Now, you remember this?
Oh, yes. Memory back. I could see her. I was walking. Everything back. Didn't have any sensation of any kind. God just evidently one day said, "Okay, you served the purpose. That's the end of that." And it was over. He came in. He was very confused when he saw me. And when the nurse came in and said that my husband wanted to talk to him, he ran out of the hospital because he didn't want to talk to the preacher.
The doctor.
Yes. And about, I would say probably 3 weeks later, my husband is a wonderful musician and I'm a singer. And of course, we were told I would never sing again. We would never do anything again. And we did a concert at our church. New Hope Baptist Church was the name of our church. And we did a concert called Living by Faith.
Yes.
And I was singing and looked in the back of the church, and in the last pew sat Dr. Dukovsky. And
the Russian.
Today,
the Russian doctor. Okay.
In 2009, he runs a Christian clinic in Russia.
As we speak.
So evidently, he had to see me sick long enough to believe, and now he's healthy.
What did he say? I mean,
he could not speak. He was crying.
But I know he had to put something on a piece of paper saying something had to take place, or medical.
Yes.
Did you get the explanation?
My medical record, which was 2 notebooks about this thick, the last page in the notebook says, "There is no medical explanation for the recovery of this patient."
Lord have mercy. Tell the family that again. What did it say?
It said there is no medical explanation for the recovery of this patient. And what I want to say, if it's all right with you,
Go ahead.
What I want to say is, we can't go by how it looks. We can't go by what we know, because what we know is nothing compared to what God knows. We cannot say what cannot be. We have to be careful about what we speak. We have to be careful about what we say. We have to be careful about who we talk to, because the enemy tried to take me out my whole life. I was stillborn in the first place. So my mother lost me at birth, and I was not revived and brought back to her until 3 days later. And I think we all have seen 3 days before. My parents were on the way out of the hospital in the wheelchair with the flowers, grieving. And the doctor, Dr. Mitchell, ran down the hall and said, "Are you going to leave this drum majorette here?" And that is how my life began. So the enemy has been trying to take me out ever since I got here. And what I want to say to you is, there is no testimony if you haven't been tested. And God has been so good to me. I don't have enough time to tell you all the things that have happened in my life, but I should not be surprised, because since the enemy tried to take me out in the beginning, he has never stopped trying. And I believe with all my heart that all of that is partially for me to serve the way I've been called to serve now at Eugene Butler Middle School. It is a school that's a tough school with wonderful children and loving families, but who are in situations where they just need the love of Christ. And the fact that I don't hide the fact that I'm a child of God, God has blessed me with wonderful teachers who love children, not because of, but just like God does in spite of. He loves me in spite of myself. And I believe that it was preparation for me to do what God has called me to do. He's never allowed me to teach or work anywhere that's easy. My very first teaching job was in a federal prison, and all of my students were lifers with no parole. I was only 22 years old. But you know, if you don't go through something, then you can't take anybody where you haven't been. So there are very few people that I can't talk to because there's very little that I have not experienced. I didn't like it when it was going on. I have a very honest relationship with God. When I don't understand what he's doing, I just say, what is up with this? Yeah. And I just ask him. He read my mind anyway, so there's no sense in me trying to fool him. But because I have that relationship with him, he answers my prayers, he brings me through. And what I want to say to you is what I appreciate is the opportunity to tell my story. God has told me I must write it, so I'm right now trying to write the book. It's a difficult book to write because I have to kind of relive it, and I have to tell which part I remember and which part someone told me. But all I know is I once was blind, but now I see. That's all I know. And God is good. No one can convince me that he's not. No matter what I go through, and I've been through some things, God is good. I want to tell you this. When the enemy can't get you, he'll come at you another way. My daughter is a 29-year-old nurse in Atlanta, Georgia. She's been healthy all her life. And right now, she has just come out of a 3-week, very serious exacerbation of multiple sclerosis. But I want to tell you this. She said to me, Mama, he did it for you and he can do it for me. So we are waiting, anticipating total healing for her as well. Because God has not changed and he can do it again. But if he doesn't, his will be done. I just thank you for the opportunity.
I'm so excited that you're able to take time out just to come and share your testimony. But I want to ask you something.